marriage is a big commitment. And while it can be incredibly rewarding at times, sometimes it can also be difficult, especially if you don't know what to look out for.
Yes.
So let's talk about that here on Couples Pursuit Live.
Yeah.
Couples Pursuit.
Hello, this is Vincent
And Valerie.
Woodard. And on this episode of Couples Pursuit,
tonight we're going to give you the best marriage advice for newlyweds from two former divorcees.
Exactly. Look, hey, if you think this might be something that you might be interested in or somebody that you know might be interested in, I urge you to hit that like button, hit that share button, and get them on the line. You know, I'm telling my age. You know, get them to join the conversation. And so we're going to talk about some great things that we've learned, baby, over the years. Like you said before we started, we're going to tell people some good stuff because we found out how to jack it up.
Yeah.
Make it up as we go along. That was my thing right there. Yeah. And to get to where we are right now, 22 plus years later, we are at a place where, 22 years later, I think this is. Okay, last year was probably the happiest I ever been. The year before that was probably this year. Right now, I'm just the happiest I've ever been, and I think it's gonna continue to get better. Tomorrow and the next day after that, it's just gonna continue to get better. But it took some work. It took some work.
But why? Why are you the happiest that you've ever been?
Because I realize now that it's not about you doing something for me, you bringing me happiness, you acting right so I will be happy, or I have to act right so you can be happy. It's not about that. It's about building something together and wanting to be together, be with you, wanting to be in a relationship, be married, and grow this family, and grow this relationship, and then from this relationship grow this family, and continue to be a couple of example and help other couples, repair their family, repair their relationships, and from that, I think our kids are happier. One day we're going to, maybe have all of them on the show, and maybe zoom in all in one point. But I think that, and from that, and our relatives, and they see the love in us. Probably makes them sick sometimes because we just love each other so much.
Is it that good, y'all? Really?
But that's why. What about you?
Wow. I think what makes me, yes, I'm absolutely happier than I've ever been in our relationship. I'm the happiest I've ever been in any relationship. But happier, definitely, more joyful, confident. I feel more stability, strength, love, support, equality, recognized equality. I should say that because I was always equal, but not always recognized as equal as far as being able to have my feelings and emotions expressed and evaluated or accepted on the level that they should be.
Exactly. Yes.
But just really, really, very happy and hopeful. I think for a lot of years, we weren't sure if we were going to make it. And so our level of hope fluctuated. But I no longer feel that way.
Yes. And to let you know, we're former divorcees. I've been married before, divorced. My wife, same with her. She's been married, divorced. I had a kid. I had a son when we got married. My wife had a daughter when we got married. Then we had a daughter together.
Right.
And we have this awesome blended family. And so, from that, there's always some little, I tried this marriage before. It didn't quite work out. Now I know I wasn't the greatest husband at all times. And I'm not going to talk about the spouse, the other issue. I'm just going to talk about what I've done.
About us.
But
yes.
I've learned that I didn't really know what I was getting into. So that's what this video was about. This video is and this podcast, and it's to help share some knowledge of some things that we've learned through the trials and tribulations, through the ups and downs, through the hard knocks.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you're getting married if you're thinking about getting married, or if you're newlyweds, or if you've been married for a long time, I believe everybody can get something from what we're about to share today.
Yes, I believe everyone can get something from it also. I always say whether you're single, separated, married, divorced, or even widowed. It just depends on where your mindset is, what you're looking for. Because either you're in a relationship looking to get in one or looking to get out of one, or you're content where you are. And what we share also is beneficial to family life. You know, we share about love, family, and relationship. So I think it's for everyone. And we're just excited to share with you some things that can help you avoid the pitfalls of marriage. And, you know, one of those things is that we need to keep the mind, we need to know what marriage is, know what it's about. What is your intention with the marriage? What is that person's intention with the marriage? And then you need to know all of that before you even say, yes, I'll marry you.
Exactly. So this first point is probably going to be a shocker to a lot of people when I say this.
Yeah.
But hear me out before you tune me out. Look, love shouldn't be the reason why you get married. It's about building a life together. Should be the reason why you would want to get married. If you were willing to commit to this marriage, not just compliment, not just say, hey, I feel good, I think this is something we should do.
Yeah.
You know, it just feels nice. You know, I like holding you at nighttime.
Give me the willies.
Yes, and all that. So I love you. You love me.
I do.
Okay, let's get married. No. Really, I'm trying to tell you, I think a lot of couples operate from that standpoint.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I love you, you love me, and we hang out together, so let's get married. But you're not really focusing on the end goal that we need to build something together. So anytime you build something, can we build together?
Yeah.
And anytime you build something, it's some biblical principles, but it say count the cost.
Yes.
It says measure, evaluate. Nobody's builds a building without first having everything that they're going to need.
That's good.
Or have access to things they're going to need. And then to know exactly how strong, much they want to build.
Yeah.
And same thing with marriage. I think a lot of times, and I'm preaching to the choir right here. A lot of times that we get married because it felt like something we should do.
Right.
You know, this is the next progression. We dated.
Right.
You know, I like you, you like me. I say, do you like me? Yes or no? You might have said yes. I know. Old school. Okay, so yes, so we dated, and then let's get married. We live together, maybe, or we want to live together, maybe, whatever. I love you. Let's get married. But what about the times when the love is not felt? It's not reciprocated. When it's not, we're having a hard time. One spouse might be battling through health issues or whatever, depression, anxiety,
issues.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know, are you willing to commit? Because we said we're going to build together. So this is one of those hiccups that come. We counted the cost because we didn't always have everything lined up.
Right.
Because you just jumped out there, but you didn't really have the foundation of communication. Some things we're going to talk about. If you had those things and you knew that sometimes it's not going to be all like it rosy and butterflies. No.
As much as I love this guy, it's not always like that. And without the level of relationship, communication, and understanding we have today, we would not have made it. And one reason why love shouldn't be the reason, it shouldn't be the primary reason for marriage. We're not saying it shouldn't be a reason for marriage.
Yeah.
Yes, you should love your prospective husband or wife. However, you have to understand that for some people, love means different things. Do you know what love means to your spouse? Do they know what love means to you? Do they know how you prefer to receive love? And do you know how they prefer to receive love? Do you know what examples they had or didn't have? What kind of things are necessary for you in a relationship? Do they match? Do they understand that love is not just an emotion, but it's also an action word?
Exactly.
Do they understand that?
The language of love.
And if you go into a relationship thinking, oh, it's all about love, what happens when you don't feel the love or you don't have the same perspective of love? this is what happens, I think, when people say we fell out of love. You don't fall out of love.
Wow.
You don't fall into it, and you don't fall out of it. Love is a choice.
I like that, baby.
It's a choice. You
like
either
that.
do or you don't. It's like being pregnant. You're pregnant or you're not pregnant. I'm black or I'm not black. You know?
Yeah.
And you might say, well, I could be many other different ethnicities. Okay, if you want to go that line, that's true. But if black is a part of that in this society, if you got a little bit of black, you're black. Right? But I mean, that's neither here nor there. But the thing I'm trying to express is that love is not, love is a choice.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I said to my husband when we were dating is that the truest test of whether you love me or not is how you treat me when you're angry with me, when I don't please you. Because if we say, I love you, you know, and we don't respect you, that's not love.
Exactly.
If I say I love you and I'm not kind, I'm not patient, I seek my own way. According to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, I think it maybe starts around the 7th or the 8th verse. It says love is patient, love is kind. It goes on to describe what love is. So if you're ever in a relationship, if you think you're in love with someone, evaluate that. Do I feel like this? Am I kind? Am I patient? Am I, you know, all these things? And is that person that to me?
Yes.
Because a lot of things that we call love is not love. It's emotion. It's lust. It's desire. It's contentment. It's satisfaction. It satisfies the senses, your feelings. But is that really, when the rubber meets the road, is it love?
Exactly. And are you willing to do the things when those things are tested, when patience is tested, when kindness is tested?
Can it endure sickness?
Yes, sickness and even in good health,
poverty.
You know,
you know.
And are you willing? And I say, are you willing to do things to combat those? Are you willing to go to therapy? You know, I was against therapy for so many years.
Oh,
it's just,
what's the famous word? I don't need anybody to tell me.
Yeah, I don't need anybody to tell me what to do, man. Nobody, all of my business. That was another one right there. And the fact that I took that off the table. Like, no, we can't do
not
therapy.
An option.
No, we're not going to talk.
I asked you if you wanted an accountability partner. Heck no, I don't need no accountability partner.
And it's amazing that now that I am a relationship coach and one that has been in therapy sessions, one that has been, seen a therapist myself and seen. So we find ourselves here now, and it helps so much to be able to share and talk with someone. And I'm moving a little ahead, a little fast. But are you willing to, do the things that we have to do because we want this marriage to be healthy? We want it to be strengthened. We want it to be strong. You know, and so you start taking options off the table. You're limiting the accessibility. I don't know if that's a word, but you're limiting the part.
We're gonna make it a word. Accessibility, the ability to be successful.
Yeah, you're curbing that, and if you're not willing or able, think that right now, let's talk about it before we throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know,
that's absolutely true. I wanted to take a moment to just talk about. I mentioned the scripture where I get all the things that love entails from, and it is 1 Corinthians, but it starts at chapter 3. I'm sorry, chapter 13, verse 3, and it says, though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. And then verse 4 talks about what love is. It says, love suffers long and is kind, does not envy, does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails. But where there are, it gets into talking about prophecies, but basically what they're talking about here is the fact that we can do all the good things, and we always talk from the point of a biblical perspective. So the word for us is how we live. We live by the principles of God's words. As much as we know and know how to do, we do that. But what can happen is we can give to the poor, we can preach, we can prophesy, we can do all the things that are good in the community. But if we don't love the people that we're serving, this is what he's talking about here. If you don't love, then it doesn't amount to anything.
Exactly.
And so then he goes on to describe what love is. And when people get to the point of divorce and that irreconcilable difference stage, what's happening? Is love bearing all things? Is love hoping all things? Is love enduring all things? Is it rude? Is it puffing itself up? Is it prideful? Oftentimes, yes.
Yes.
When you get to the point of divorce, the two people that have joined as one, they start ripping themselves apart, you know, and it's very telling that our perspective of love has been lost. Exactly.
And so with that, too, communicate.
Yeah.
A healthy relationship is based on effective communication. Effectively communicate with one another, you know, everything. Not just the good things. I baby, I like the way you smell, I like the way you look, you know, dinner
the way
was
you make
great,
me feel.
All
right.
But those deep things, those wants, those desires, those fears, those things that you might be anxious about, you might be unsure about. You know, a guy hates to admit when we don't know. You know, and that's a part where we need to actually say, baby, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that it's a red flag when you're constantly asking your spouse. I'm not saying it's something you need a divorce over. I'm saying it's something that it needs to be aware of and need to be addressed. When you're constantly asking your spouse, baby, what's wrong? Or nothing. I'm okay. Like, baby, I know.
I sense something is wrong. I sense that something is wrong with you. And then it is very disingenuous for you to tell your spouse nothing is wrong when something is wrong. Because then you are then reflecting to them that what they innately know is wrong.
Yeah.
And that causes them to question and mistrust themselves. You know, you might be like, well, that's too deep. Well, is it really though?
No, I don't think it's too deep because I think it's real. It's real that the fact that the person, they start doubting, you know, not only themselves, but they start doubting, why aren't you vulnerable with me? You know, why don't you
I know
trust
something
me
is wrong
to let me in?
Right.
And you know, couples like that. You know, we were like that. Why won't you let me in? You know, what are you why are you hiding from me? Why are you hiding?
Why are you covering yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. When we should be for one another the most trusted and vulnerable space. Vulnerability is so important to a relationship. My husband can tell me anything. I mean, anything.
Exactly.
I mean, anything. Even at this point in our relationship, he could tell me about something he may have done that I didn't have any idea of. And that would become something that we would talk about, that we would discuss, even if it was something that hurt me or made me angry.
Yeah, same here.
And we had to discuss that. I can't say that years ago he would have been able to tell me anything. And I wouldn't have been like, well, hold on, wait a minute. You know, and go all the way back to when that time was and be hurt and all of those things. Now, I'm not saying if he told me, well, babe, I cheated on you 2 years ago. Oh, we need to talk about that.
Welcome to Couples Pursuit.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm not promoting violence. No, joking.
Right. Just joking. It's not okay for your spouse to hit you or for you to hit your spouse, ladies. Right?
Thanks for the disclaimer, baby.
Right. Violence is not condoned here. But what I'm saying is we know each other now in a way, and we understand how broken we were. Now that the old us was quite possibly capable of doing and saying things that were immature and irrational. We don't live in that space anymore.
Exactly. And when you don't communicate, what I found out, why I think we're able to share why my wife feels that way, because what I've found is that, okay, so it's two people in this relationship. Now, when you're holding something back and your spouse can sense that, and essentially there are like 3 people in this relationship. It's you, your spouse, and this thing that keeps following y'all around. It's like every time you walk in the room, baby, you okay? I'm okay.
But I see it.
Everywhere you go, it's following. It's what's around. It's following you around. It's like, I know something.
Introduce me to your friend.
It's nothing.
What are you
it's nothing.
talking about? I don't see anybody.
Yeah. So, and that would just keep following me around everywhere we go. Everywhere we go, and it's like either we address it or we don't address it, but it's there. Mm-hmm. And your spouse is not dumb. They can sense it. Now, you might not want to share when we first get introduced to it, but eventually you say, well, baby, you know, we really need to talk about your little friend, because it follows you everywhere you go. Whatever you're hurt or you're ashamed or whatever, you're disappointed, you're angry, you're mad, whatever, communicate.
Yes, and you said very key is effectively. Mm-hmm. And you know, we could talk tonight for a whole half an hour or more about what effective communication is, and we won't, because we have to move on to other areas. But communication is going to be the sure foundation for any successful relationship.
Yes, and that looks like active listening. And allowing the other partner to speak, without interrupting, and say their feelings and not discounting that. So effective communication is that I have a problem, I have an issue. Okay, baby, is everything all right? What can I do to help with that? So how does that make you feel? You know, not, instead of saying, well, what you should do.
Yeah, or why do you feel that way? Or that's dumb, or I don't understand that.
Effective is you're actually trying to be more effective in the way you verbalize with one another. You know, the words you say are building your spouse up, or what you don't say sometimes. You know, you're building your spouse up because you're allowing them to emote and get off their chest. They should be able to come to you and talk to you about anything.
Absolutely.
So, and also number 3, don't take your spouse for granted.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I would recommend that because sometimes you just go through life. You wake up, you might kiss or don't kiss before you leave the house, and then you go to work, and for 8, 10, 12 hours or whatever, then you come home, you eat dinner, you look at TV, and you go to bed. And I guess all with the assumption, you might not say I love you, you might not say, hey, how you doing? You might not say, baby, you look nice today, dinner was great. All those things, it's like you assume that they should know. You know, that they should know. And if they don't know, that's their
on
fault.
Them. Well, I married you, didn't I? I'm here, ain't I? Well, that doesn't really mean much. As I said before, love is there are feelings that are accompanied by love, but there's also action that's accompanied by love. And for you to say that you love me is one thing. For you to show me that you love me is something completely different.
Exactly.
And everyone wants to feel significance, worth, importance. Even people who are, the behind the scenes folks that really don't want to be out in the open, still want to be appreciated for who they are and what they do. And that's in any type of relationship, whether it's a work relationship, a friend to friend relationship, or a romantic relationship, a marital relationship. It's very important that person is not taken for granted. The things that you do. Just last night, I said to you, honey, I appreciate all that you do for, even with just Couples Pursuit. He does, the bulk of the research. Now I'm a natural communicator, natural talker. And,
I'll tell you, get behind the camera and say, baby, let's go. What are we gonna talk about? Let's go. Let's go. Yeah,
that's kind of my way of being. And of course, I still have to know what I'm talking about. Of course. But he does the deep diving, the digging, cultivating the relationships with other like-minded people that you see on the show, or the podcast, or you hear on the radio show. And so, yes, I do appreciate that, but it's worth me saying, honey, I appreciate that.
And that is, I think that's my drive is, I'm against myself. It's like, I'm not against. I am like, when I say I love you, I want that to be icing on the cake. I want to be like, baby, I know you do, because I want my work. I want to show and demonstrate and all those things. So much so that as when I say I love you, what I say it often, try to say it every day, multiple times a day.
You do.
But when I say it, it's just like, yes, I know, because you've demonstrated it. And every day that's my goal. My goal is I want my wife to feel my love. I mean, feel it. You know,
I thought that you accomplished that, you know, and I'm grateful for that. And it's so funny because just a couple of days ago, someone said to me, it's actually a childhood friend who I didn't know was watching. She was like, man, I can tell your husband really loves you. And that, I was like, wow, she's not someone who has been around you more than a couple of times. And it's not the first time I've heard it. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm grateful. I do have a wonderful husband. Now, I'm happy to tell people that we struggled because I want them to know if you're struggling, it's possible to come together. And it's not that my husband is some Superman. No. He's a man like every other man.
I'm a man that has been given grace. My wife has given me so much grace in our marriage. And, you know, I know you said, well, that's supposed to be from God. No, I mean, we can stand, you know, to each other. We can, you know, allow each other to grow. And my wife has allowed me to, you know, continue to be in her life. And I say all that to say, not like, you know, she was, but you know what, you need to go. Your 30 days are up. You know, we said 20 years is 22. What in the world?
That's enough. 2
years too long. I say all that to say because she has put up with so much from me. And she has, you know, prayed for me, and I know she loves me immensely. I could feel it, and for that I'm grateful first of all. But then I want her. I'm so much grateful. I just would like to love her back. I want to love her back. So I say all that to say my advice is to demonstrate your love. Yeah. You love her?
Show her.
Show her. You love him. Show him. And women, it's I ain't say it's easy for you, but it's kind of a more natural, you know, thing because God didn't even have to. It's so natural. God didn't even have to tell you to love your husband. It's like, oh, they gonna do. If you love her like Christ loved the church, you gonna.
It's a done deal.
You gonna be good. So, man, wow, time is flying. 4 is one of my wife's favorite quotes. And I love to put it in every time we talk about advice. It's not about who is right. It's about what is right.
Yeah.
Baby, take us away on that.
Well, what I mean by that is, and I'm going to quote again another one of my favorite scriptures. I believe it's Proverbs 14:12. And it says, there's a way that seems right unto man, but the end of that way is either death, depending upon the interpretation, or the version of the Bible that you're reading, or the end of that way is destruction. I can think a certain way. He can think a certain way. To us, we're both right about it, depending upon the lens through which we're looking, the focus that we have, the experiences that we had. Even if we lived in the same house growing up, for siblings, each person sees it differently. They see the growing up differently. They see the discipline differently. They see their surroundings differently. But what is true is this. For us, truth is God's opinion on the matter.
Exactly.
And I say for us because that's not everybody's belief, but that is for us. So we have to find out, what does the word say about this matter? Exactly. And that is what's right. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what he thinks. It's about what's right. And so we don't argue. We don't argue anymore, period, which is a gift from God. But it's a gift from God because we submit it to his way. We submit it to his principles. And that doesn't mean that we're just some stoic people who just sit in the house all the time and read the Bible, or we stay in church all the time and we're always speaking in tongues and rocking in the corner. And, you know, that's not, we have fun. We laugh, we play, we dance, we love music, we go out, we experience cultural things. But the focus, the center of our life is our relationship with the Father, with God. And we know that if we do things the way that he has said they should be done, he's going to be happy. I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
It's going to put my pride, my flesh to the side. All those things that I mentioned earlier about from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, what love is going to push that to the forefront. And so we don't have to worry about fighting or arguing.
Exactly. And it starts, some counselors or therapists, I might say, well, arguing is a good thing, you know. And I kind of understand that. I think they're talking about, you know, openly displaying or discussing your differences
Healthy
of opinion.
Debating and discussion.
We have differences of opinion sometimes.
Yes.
But they calling that arguing to me. The fighting that ensues sometimes when you have a difference of opinion. That's when I say they differ. The difference of opinion, disagreeing, and arguments. When I call arguments when you start, you know, I got a point, I'm right about it, and
when you start trying to shut each other down with what you think or feel about the situation.
We don't do that. Now we're human beings. I could say, well, we need to hang, you know, the blinds, or we need to hang. You know, it's funny. Like we used to like decorate, and we did a set and all this stuff like that. And, you know, sometimes you like, okay, well, baby, what about this and what about that? So we have a difference of opinion, but you know, we get to a point and say, you know what, baby.
You're right.
We have to find a way to, you know, work together all the time, because this is what we do.
Right.
You know, so we're not. It's not going to be a chore working together.
Right.
We're not going to make this, you know, something like, oh Lord, we got to
here we go.
Because y'all going to feel no,
right? Because you'll sense it,
exactly.
And that is a testament to exactly what I shared about the childhood friend earlier. Hasn't been around us, but it's like I can just tell that your relationship is genuine. You are so happy, and I see that, and I am. It's not something that I made up, and I love to share this because it just tickles me, and I think it blesses you too. When I shared that. There was once this guy who, you know, was trying to talk to me or whatever at my job. And I was like, oh, I'm married. And he was like, oh, well, are you happily married? And, you know, I'm paraphrasing because it was so long ago. I was like, man, I love my husband so much it'll just make you sick. What does a guy say when you say that? Again, not because he's Superman. It's because he is a man surrendered to God. Does it mean that he doesn't make mistakes? No.
That's right.
Does it mean that I love every single thing that he does? No. Does it mean he doesn't get on my nerves sometimes? No. But I also get on his nerves too. But it's not. But over and above all of that, we have figured out that love is patient. That love is kind. That love is. You know, I'm getting into. It's funny. We're talking about today the best advice from two divorcees. But what is really happening is that we figured out. I was 19. When I married the first time.
I was 20.
I think you were, you were 20. And it didn't work.
No.
It just didn't work. And part of the reason why it didn't work was because of us.
Exactly.
We were not aware. We were not as evolved. We were not as intelligent. We were not as giving, as kind, as honest as we are now.
Yeah. And with that, just being able, that's why we always apply biblical principles and we share them. You know, I remember when we first started Couples, we was like, do we want to incorporate that or kind of keep it separate? You know, the biblical principles and the marriage advice. And it's like, I have to share with you what worked for us.
Right.
And I can't tell you everything, but leave that out because it's such a key component. And yes, there's other practical things that we have to do. You know, we can pray, and like my wife said, we're not in the corner just speaking in tongues all the time. And you know, we're actually working those things. We have an argument. We like, oh, okay, that's a valid point. I could see how you got to that conclusion. You know, so what can I? It's a whole bunch of things. Y'all should rock with us long enough. Hopefully, you know, you will see our evolution, because even from here, you're 22 in marriage. You know, I just thank God. And next year is going to be even greater. And the year after that. So, and that leads me to our last point, which is to seek help before, during, and after it's needed.
Yeah.
You know, couples counseling or counseling is not a weak thing. It's not something that people do because we at the end of our ropes and I'm going to kill them if we don't get help. No, it's something. It's like pre-maintenance. It's like something you should do to get a check-in sometimes. And that's why we offer what we offer, to be able to share a call with us and come talk to us. And if things, if we're a good fit, then we can work together. But
Right.
You should always seek to improve. Even if you have a good, strong, or solid marriage right now, you should always seek to improve. What you can do, how you can communicate with your spouse, how you can get the most out of this relationship. You find yourself getting to a point. I remember one of my wife's friends came and told us, and we was actually in the rocky spot in our marriage, but she came and told me, and she said that you're frustrated. And I was like, what? What you mean? So you're frustrated, And she went on to speak on a couple of things, but this is just like, wow, I never would have thought about it. I never would have came to that conclusion, baby. That what's wrong is.
And I didn't tell her that.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about it, is I didn't tell her that. She was able to see in him what he couldn't articulate within himself. And she actually wanted to pray for the both of us. But she spoke to him because, see, me being a woman, I pour my feelings out. And I'm like, I feel this way and I feel that way and I'm not sure why. And we can talk through it. And his feelings were locked.
Drip. Yeah, they were slow drip.
Yeah, they were locked away.
Or they might burst in their coke.
Right, it would come out in outbursts. Ooh. And it's really important for us to not feel ashamed about needing help. If I broke my finger, maybe if I had some medical background, if I have a friend who's a nurse or maybe a friend who's a doctor and they're like, come let me set it or whatever for you, or this is what you need to do. Just wrap it, slap a popsicle stick on each side, whatever that is, wrap it up and then get to your physician. We would do that. Why don't we do the same thing with relationship? Exactly. My relationship is broken. Our marriage was broken for the longest time because we were broken for the longest time. And then when we came to a place where we could recognize and say, I'm broken, without feeling like I'm broken means I am bad. Yeah. I am wrong. I am whatever, fill in the blank. And when you realize that there are broken places within you, then you understand that you cannot always articulate and act out the proper thing to do because you may not know what that is. Because I'll use the finger again. If I broke this finger, when I go to reach for something, I'm gonna favor the pain. Yeah. So when you go to reach for your spouse or your spouse comes to reach for you, you cover and you favor your pain. Find out what that pain is. Find out where it's coming from. And that will give you a greater vulnerability. That's part of why people are able to see so much joy in us, because we don't harbor. We don't cover our pain anymore.
That is so good because, someone could be dealing with some issues that might have happened to them sexually or in the past, but somebody's reaching for that more intimacy, that more sensual part of that spouse, and the spouse is like, no, that's I'm favoring that because I'm still not healed from that, and right. Same thing with your emotion, with your heart. The spouse just think, they can want your heart, but you've hurt, you've been trusting someone, and they broke your trust, and but you're still recovering from that, and your spouse is like, I don't understand why. So that's great, baby. Favoring those things that are
the painful parts.
Yeah, and that's why we offer. To work with us. If you need relationship advice, you just want to talk, you can reach out to us. You can go to our website at couplespursuit.com/talk. Simple as that. And you can fill out a application to or go to our calendar and figure out what's a good day for you, right? And come to us, and then we can talk. We have a free session that we offer. So for a free session, we can figure out if there's something that you're going to get something out of it. But if you want to continue to work with us, we present the opportunity also. Yeah. So couplespursuit.com/talk.
Yeah, I want to share also before we close just a bonus about some of the best advice. If you are struggling in your relationship before you get married and you're not getting help, you're having issues with trust, with fidelity, with intimacy, and I'm not talking about sex, I'm talking about vulnerability and being able to relate to one another. Do not think for one moment that that's going to get better just because you get a ring on your finger. It will not. Whatever issues you have, you need to get to a point where you can be at peace within yourself. Because if we're not at peace within ourselves, then we're just going to bring that chaos to the relationship. And what happens is, unfortunately, sometimes we expect that spouse to settle our matters. We expect them and what they do or they bring to the relationship, because in the beginning stages, when there's love and romance and all of that, you have all of this wonderful chemical, biochemical stuff going, this energy, this oxytocin and serotonin, all those things pulsing through your veins. Oh, he just makes me so happy, so that's sometimes when couples get together, they don't eat. They might go out to eat. They might go out to eat a lot in the beginning when they get together, but then they just want to spend time and they're just like gazing at each other. And
you hang up. No, you hang up.
No, you first. All that silliness, it comes from the joy of love and intimacy, even what we call puppy love when you're young. All of that comes, but life is going to come after that.
Yes.
And you may feel that, but then you also have to deal with the home you have together, the vehicle you have together, the bills you have together, the responsibilities that you have together, the children that you have together, the issues that are flowing out of his heart and out of your heart. You have to deal with that. And if we don't know how to do that on our own individually, handle your emotions, handle yourself, how are you going to do it with your spouse?
Exactly.
It's not okay for me to feel like you should make me happy. He can't make me happy, y'all.
No.
Now, I'm very happy with him. I love him immensely, but it's not his responsibility to regulate joy in my life. And if we come to a relationship with that thought in mind, well, he should do this. I'm a queen and he should spoil me. Well, ma'am, maybe, those things are icing on the cake. The spoiling, the gifts, the surprises. I love all of that. But real life is not like that every day.
Yeah. Can I be vulnerable? Can you be vulnerable with me? Can I be vulnerable with you? Can I trust you with everything?
Can I tell you when I'm afraid? Can I tell you that I don't know how to handle a situation? Can you handle that he may not know how to handle a situation? And vice versa. That's when you come together and you work things out. So again, I was saying the bonus is that if you're having the issues before, you're going to have the issues after. Marriage is not going to fix it. It's not going to fix issues that you have with intimacy. It's not going to fix issues if you have addictions, porn addiction, alcohol, drugs, etc. It's not going to fix any of that. And so we need to know who we are and what we're dealing with and be honest in the beginning, because it's going to come out.
Exactly. So hopefully you enjoyed this best marriage advice for newlyweds or anybody.
It's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I could talk for another hour about this.
Former divorcees, and we appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yes.
And like I said, please share with someone if you found this helpful. And that also helps us. We thank you so much. Leave a comment too. Yeah. I'll just have any more questions. Maybe we have something that we might want to add to the list. Yeah. So next time that we broach this subject, we if it's something that we can all agree with, we'll put it on the list, and you might make the video.
It's wonderful that you guys are with us. We hope that you've learned something, that you've heard something. Again, if you didn't share it, it's not too late to do so. Share it with someone who most definitely will be able to glean something from it, or share with someone that they might feel needs the advice or the information. We love you guys, and we do this because we love you, even those of you that we have not seen, those of you that we do not know, because the one common thing about humanity is that we all desire love, companionship, and relationship, and no one gets married to get divorced. So we want to help you stay married. If you're struggling, we want to help you to heal your marriage. And that's our goal. So we thank you for joining us again tonight. And so we hope to hear from you soon, and we'll see you next time here on Couples Pursuit Live.
Bye.